Is going on? We're Bets back in the house, Pierre and Scott here on a Tuesday night here in Metro Detroit. Snow is falling and flying, Scott. We always hate the white stuff. And speaking of white stuff, let's go to the whiteboard behind you. Tree down already. So I'm going to start with you. I know you have some guests coming to your house. So tree coming down already. It's December 28th. Are you Christmas tree up, Christmas tree down? What's going on in your household right now?
Yeah, that's a pretty good question. I swear, if you probably put 10 people in a room, Chris, I'm going to guess that it's about 50-50. In between Christmas and the New Year's, who takes their tree down and rips all the decorations down? Now, we're 50-50 here. So the tree is actually still up in the corner, but all the other decorations around through the house are already tucked away and put away. The lights on the bushes outside are still there, Chris, because it hasn't been warm enough for me to get out there and get them. But like you mentioned, with all the snow and ice and all that, I'm not getting out there freezing. And I hate when my hands get cold. But the tree is still up. But yeah, I would assume that about 50-50 if you got it up or down.
All right, let's put you to the. So we started talking Christmas trees, and I started sneezing right on cue. But so let's put you to the test. Is my tree up or down? No, you got to think about. I got kids, I got wife. It's not just me here. So tree up or down? What's your guess here?
I'm gonna guess your tree's probably still up.
Now, normally you'd be correct. Normally we ride through the new year. We let it go till a couple days after the new year. Then normally everything starts coming down. But so we always go out. We get a real tree. We had a fake tree forever, and that was easy. Pull it out of the basement, you set it up, plug it in, boom, you're done. Decorate a little bit. Now the last few years we've done the go out, cut down your own tree. Which, all right, it's fun. You get the natural tree, the smells, whatever. So we get this tree, looks good, and as we get closer to Christmas, Scott, this thing, and we watered it every day. This was not a watering problem. This thing started dying quick. Like I was afraid to turn the lights on. Like this thing's gonna light on fire any minute. Like barely made it through Christmas, so started taking it down. Like we had to get rid of this thing. As I'm taking ornaments off, I mean just showers of pine needles, like hitting the ground, hitting the pine needles everywhere. We're going to find them for weeks. So kind of by default, I'm tree down guy, but that thing, I never seen a tree die so quick. I mean, we only got it a couple weeks ago. Again, we watered it. This thing is not having it. It looks like Charlie Brown's Christmas tree sitting on the side of my curb right now, but the decorations still stay up. But yeah, exactly. So
like Charlie Brown, you wrapped that little blankie around the bottom and, you made it through. It was good. But, dude, when you were pulling it out of the house, did you, if you hit a corner, about 10,000 little needles hit the ground or what?
So I did it with the ornaments had to come off, the lights, and we have this tree skirt my wife puts around it. So that contained a lot of it. And then I went, we swept up some, but I went and got the blower that I used from my yard and started just blowing pine needles out the front door. I mean, it was that bad. So, I mean, that's the only manly way to do it. I'm not sweeping. I'm not vacuuming. Give me my lawn leaf blower, and we'll take care of this problem. So, drive by the house, you're gonna see my dead tree hanging out on the curb for a couple days. But I'll leave the lights up for a little bit. Like you said, you find that nice day, the warm day. Like, all right, let's get this stuff down. But that certainly is not qualify right now. Looks like it's going to be cold and snowy here for a few days locally. Well, welcome into the show. I didn't plan on talking about Christmas trees so much, but hey, you never know what you're going to get here on Woodward Bets. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at Woodward Bets. Follow the network at Woodward Sports. And Scott, coming off of Monday Night Football. I mean, my goodness, what a boring game. I mean, I still enjoy watching it. I know there's people out there, you're on Twitter, this game sucks, it's terrible. You don't have to watch it. I mean, if it's that bad, turn it off. I mean, I still watch the games, and sure, it's not the shootout we all want, but we kind of knew that going into that game, that this was the kind of game it was going to be. Ian Book looked absolutely lost, overwhelmed. Miami, 7 wins in a row. I don't know if you saw that stat, Scott. They're the first team ever to have a 7-game losing streak and a 7-game winning streak in the same season, but they now sit in the 7th spot in the AFC. I mean, they went out. They're a playoff team. They still have Tennessee and New England to go. But thoughts on last night's game? Jalen Waddle, I mean, the guy looks electric. I think he was the story. That Miami defense obviously looked great. Miami gets it done last night, 20-3.
Yeah, I got two things out of that game last night. One, the Dolphins have been about the luckiest 7-win team I've ever seen. I mean, we rattled off the teams that they had beat, and the running backs they faced, and Easy and I during yesterday's show, and it's alarming how bad some of these teams are that they ended up playing. And then, here they get the New Orleans Saints at home, missing all those players on defense, missing the two quarterbacks. I mean, how lucky can you get? But I mean, hey, they went out and they won the games they're supposed to win. The ones that are in front of them, they can't control what happens, so good for them. Tua looks like he's maybe saving his career over there in Miami. I think if he struggled and they continue to struggle throughout the year, I wouldn't doubt if Miami was looking to go another direction at quarterback. But, man, Chris, one thing I took out of that game, I keep hearing all the time, like, why are these dudes like Blake Bortles? They keep bringing him back. Why are these dudes like, Vinny Testaverde came back 17 times and, keep bringing all these old guys back? I think we're seeing why. I mean, these coaches have seen this crap in practice that we would never see on game day. I mean, these guys are just overwhelmed. I mean, you can't say that Ian Book wasn't a season quarterback. He's the all-time win leader at Notre Dame. I mean, Notre Dame is not playing, that many slouches throughout the year. Yeah, sure, they have some cupcakes, but I mean, he's playing top level talent in college, and still was a winning quarterback. But man, watching that game last night was tough. I think I even tweeted, man, this game sucks. It's hard to watch. This product is terrible. But I mean,
you're that guy I was talking about, complaining about the game. You don't have to watch it. Turn it off. You don't want to watch it.
Actually, what I did, I have 3 TVs, and I ended up turning it on to where I didn't have to watch it. And then I was stuck watching some silly wrestling because I was waiting to see if McCarty was going to jump over the top rope and give AJ Styles the elbow or something. I was kind of hoping for that. So didn't quite work out that way, but did see him in the crowd, though. Of course, the camera always finds D-Mac, Chris. It's always finding D-Mac.
Absolutely. The guy's a stud. He's a legend. I mean, why would it not find him? So I love to see that. So another interesting stat here, Scott. I don't know if you saw this. Notre Dame quarterbacks have now lost 24 consecutive starts in the NFL. Can you name the last Notre Dame quarterback to win a game in the NFL when starting?
Joe Montana.
I knew you were going to say Joe Montana. It's not Joe Montana. Brady Quinn in 2012,
okay,
the last Notre Dame quarterback to win a game. Just unbelievable. So, Ian Book, I mean, first start, it's always a tough. I mean, the guy's, I was calling him a third stringer. He's basically a fourth stringer. I mean, you're behind Jameis, Taysom. Who's the other cat that they rolled out there? Trevor Siemian. So. Plus, believe it was like a third, fourth round pick. So, at least they got to see him. I don't know that there was much there. The kid looks like he's got some mobility. Like you said, he was good at Notre Dame, but doesn't always translate. So we'll see. As far as Tua goes, we already know that they were in Deshaun Watson rumors and talks all season long. So I think Tua can be a good quarterback. I don't know that he'll ever be elite like we saw at Alabama, a top 10 quarterback, but very accurate. He's mobile enough. Has some good weaponry, so he fits this system. And they were talking about it last night after the game, I believe it was. Can this team be a playoff team? Can they be a contender? And it's going to take the defense to carry them. And was the defense a product of Ian Book being that bad? New Orleans missing half of their team. You mentioned the schedule. They really haven't played anybody here in this winning streak. So we're going to see Tennessee and New England, 2 of the better teams in the AFC. If they're for real, they win those games, they control their own destiny. So we'll be keeping an eye on the Miami Dolphins for sure. So we also have some college games going on. Some games going on now, some earlier, some tonight. So, Scott, let's talk a little bit of college football. CMU, we know, had to change bowl games. Locally, Western, a big win over Nevada, 52-24. So they definitely handled their business. And we got some bowl games that we can talk about tonight. So, before we get into those games, any thoughts here on some of the local teams here in their bowl action?
Yeah, how crazy is that? If you're part of Central, you think you're going one place and you end up going another. And obviously that all boiled down to the money. I thought I saw a tweet or something like one bowl was only 300 and some thousand. The other one was like 5 or 6 million or something. So they decided to pack up and switch bowls, which, I don't blame him at all. At least they get to play. They get that extra practice time. I know that's big for these universities at this time during that quiet time to where they can't be recruiting or doing anything else. At least they get to practice. But yeah, we're getting into that meat of the bowl schedule here, Chris. So we got a lot of good games coming up, especially obviously as Michigan fan. I'm looking forward to New Year's Eve and this big game we have against Georgia. But yeah, really big bowl games coming up. The next 10 days or so are going to be pretty fun in college football.
Yeah, so let's get into some of the games we still have tonight. We got a kick going on in about a half hour or so. So we want to get some information on that game. Of course, being the Liberty Bowl, Mississippi State and Texas Tech. Mississippi State big favorites here, 10-point favorites, 58.5 is the total on this one. And thoughts here? I mean, Mississippi State obviously in a good spot here. I know the coach has some revenge on his mind, still dealing with some contract issues back in his days with Texas Tech. So he's posted basically countdowns of this game on Twitter. Is this how this is going to play out? Is that enough vengeance within the coach? Leach, I believe, I forget his first name, slipping my mind, but is that enough to Mike Leach? Is that enough to make them roll here in this game against Texas Tech, or maybe Texas Tech on the other side against their former coach has enough to stand up here? Thoughts on this game? 10-point favorites again, 58.5 on that total.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I've seen the same thing with Mike Leach counting down, and he wants his revenge here. And I mean, you know what? I think in these bowl games, Chris, I mean, these teams, they're either going to find something to rally around, or, some of these players, we start seeing some of these teams, these kids that think they're draft eligible will start dropping out. But, I think Mississippi, they're going to want to do this here for their coach. I mean, why not? I don't think he's the kind of guy that's probably alienated himself like maybe a Brian Kelly or somebody. I got a feeling that they're going to want to come out and play for him here. So I do like Mississippi State here, kind of looking at some trends here. The over is a trend that's hit quite a bit here when you look at some of the trends in this game. The overs hit in the last 4 neutral site games for them. The overs the last 6-1 in their last 7 bowl games here. And then Texas Tech, same thing, 8-1 in their last bowl games. The over is hit. So a lot of different trends here pointing to the over. But one thing here that I did notice here, Chris, when you're looking at these last few games here, Texas Tech has lost their last 4 out of 5. They did beat Iowa State. They ended up losing by 3 to Baylor. They got shut out OK State 23-0, lost to Oklahoma 52-21, and then they lost to Kansas by a point. So, to me, I mean, losing the last 4 out of 5, now you're going to try to face the fired up team trying to win one for their coach. I think that's a tough task. So I take Mississippi State here. So if you're watching, get on in there and hit Mississippi State. That starts at 6:45, I believe.
Yep, don't have much time to get in on that one, so we wanted to get you the information. We're in lockstep on this one. I just think Mississippi State, the much better team. You mentioned Texas Tech, their struggles, barely become bowl eligible with their 6 wins here. I just think this is a mismatch. You got a team fired up. You got a coach, so a little bit of a narrative. I always love those narratives as well, but I just think this one is very one-sided. There are some 9.5s out there as well, so if you can find those, there was one on FanDuel earlier, so obviously we can get under double digits. That's the way you certainly want to go with this game. All right, next guy, we got the Holiday Bowl, UCLA and NC State. A small favorite here with NC State, -2, 60.5 is the total there. So what are we doing on this one? After we cash that Mississippi State ticket, who are we betting on in this one?
Yeah, this one here, I mean, I think here you got NC State. I mean, I've been reading all the different previews, and they're focused on getting that 10th win, double-digit win for them. That would be just the second season. So I know all those seniors and all those players are focused on getting that win. But, I mean, UCLA's got a short bus ride down Interstate 5 just to show that Chip Kelly and the boys over there got that program running on the right direction. UCLA does have a lot of players from that San Diego area. So I think a lot of these kids are going to be fired up to play in some of their front of their friends and family out there. But I think this one here, Chris, is one here that I'd be probably looking at the over. I don't have a really lean on the game at this point. I was trying to figure out, where I was looking. NC State minus 2.5 at this point. 56% of the money is coming in on NC State. But I think I'm just going to lean. I'm going to lean the over on this one here. I think both teams can score some points. Yeah, tough to pick this one though.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one as well. I mean, I lean UCLA. I'm actually on the other side of this one as far as a spread bet goes, but this one is tough. These are two teams that have both been very good against the number. NC State, obviously, putting some big numbers on the board. They both can score the football. We're both averaging over 33 points per game. NC State obviously gets the advantage defensively. UCLA's defense has been shaky at times, but I think there will be scoring in this game as well. So make it 2 for 2. We usually disagree on a lot of things, which is good. We bring different viewpoints to things, but so far, 2 for 2 on these games. Let's see if we can make it 3 for 3 here. The Guaranteed Rate Bowl. I always love these bowl names. We talked about it
Right.
a week or two ago. There's some of the funniest names. But the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, West Virginia, and the Minnesota Gophers. Minnesota -5. A small total here at 44.5.
Yeah, this one here is interesting. We obviously know about rowing the boat and all that, fun stuff there. But for me, I mean, you're looking at this West Virginia coach Neil Brown. I've been reading about, his, where he's been through, and I mean, this guy's undefeated in bowl games. When he was at Troy, he was 3-0. They had to squeak in here to get into this bowl season here. They had to win the last two games to even get in. So to me, I'm wondering if they've already, exerted all of their energy here. I think Minnesota is an impressive team. They won 6 of their last 8 games. They did beat then number 14, your Badger team. Not to bring up some bad memories, but Minnesota did beat them. So I mean, I think they had a pretty good year this so far. I think West Virginia. I mean, their offense is. I think their guy named Dodge. I believe that their running back opted out as well here. So
Yep.
I think it was Letty Brown. I think he's.
Brown. Yep.
Yep, I think he had 1,000-some yards, a little over 1,000 yards too, if I recall, and what I was reading. So yeah, he was a pretty good player. So I think Minnesota's here in a really good spot. PJ Fleck, obviously, I have a respect for him as coach, and especially with them winning 8 games. I think they go out here a winner, and they pull one through. And the -5, I actually like it at -5. If it was up around 7 or so, I think I'd be worried. But at 5, I actually had this one at 7 in my mind before I even looked at the spread.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one as well. 3 for 3 here. Very, very rare occurrence here on Woodward bets, but I agree. The loss of Letty Brown can't be understated. Minnesota, very good against the run. So now you're working with a backup running back. I don't know if they're going to be able to establish the run here. I think Minnesota, the better team on both sides of the ball. So to get this under a touchdown, like you said, I think is big. The Big Ten, we know, is one of the better conferences out there. West Virginia, some of their games can be a little bit fluky. They used to be the high scoring games. Now they try to get the run game going. I just think Minnesota overall, the much better team here. I think they win this game handily. So 3 for 3 for us here on these college bowl games. So Scott, let's go from that. Let's talk some NBA here tonight. 8 games on the association schedule. I'll walk through some injuries here. As always, we know COVID, the injuries keep coming minute by minute. So slate's going to lock here soon, but still want to be paying attention up until the very end here. So things that we know already, Anthony Davis going to miss once again here for the Los Angeles Lakers. No Bam Adebayo, Kyle Lowry for the Miami Heat. No Fred VanVleet for the Toronto Raptors. So a big loss there. Pascal Siakam also questionable. So we'll see if he's able to give it a go here today. No Cole Anthony once again for Orlando. Draymond Green out for Golden State. Anthony Edwards and D'Angelo Russell and Karl Anthony Towns will again miss for the Minnesota Timberwolves. So that's certainly a team that we can look to. That obviously saw that dunk the other night, Scott. Jalen Noel, maybe the dunk of the year. I mean, he hammered one down on Boston last night. So we'll have to find that highlight here and get it in the get it on the show here, but it was quite a dunk. But Minnesota, again, a team that you can look to for some value. Cleveland, Jarrett Allen will miss again. Evan Mobley in the COVID protocol, so we'll see if he's able to give it a go. So those are most of the big names here, Scott. So with that information, who are we looking at here in DFS tonight? Obviously, Minnesota, a team we can look to. You know, I mentioned Noel played well. Beasley, I mean, they beat Boston. It was a shocker last night. Without their three best players, they still get it done. So that's certainly a team that we got to start with. Nathan Knight as well, one of the better value plays on this slate here tonight. So who else are you looking at here on Tuesday night for DFS NBA?
Yeah, I was watching a little bit of that Minnesota game. I had some Nathan Knight last night. Then he went out, and I think everybody in DFS land was kind of worried about that when he ended up coming back in the second half. But Rockets and Timberwolves, they're the two teams on a back-to-back. So the Rockets are the team that I'm kind of interested. I mean, last night we got the curveball with Jalen Green and Porter being out. So hopefully we'll see about those two guys. But, yeah, Nathan Knight's a guy I think you got to start with. I don't understand why FanDuel didn't really bump him up in price that much. But that was just odd. But, you know, you look at these Raptors, though, I think that's another spot with Siakam being out. You know, you got DJ Wilson, you got, this Mahalik or somebody, I can't say his name that well. And then Wannabe is another guy that I think you can look at on FanDuel. Valanciunas, I think, is a pretty good play at 7,700. And then you can look at guys like Jalen Noel there for the Timberwolves. And then, you know, if you're going to spend up, Steph Curry, I think tonight against Denver is a pretty good spend up. You could look at maybe guys like Jimmy Butler. I mean, you could maybe pay up for a guy like Giannis or LeBron. I think I'd feel a little bit more comfortable with Curry. But if we find more value, we might be able to jam them guys in and go more of a stars and scrubs approach in our DFS teams.
Yeah, and trying to pronounce that guy's name, you just call him Svi. I mean, former Piston, so that's the easy way there. The dude with Toronto, Mahalik, McCall, whatever. Svi, easy. It's like Albert O at tight end for Denver. Just make life easy on yourself. But Nathan Knight, for sure, I think that's where you start your cash game lineups. Like you mentioned, FanDuel is still down at 3,800, so he's going to be very, very highly owned in tournaments. So there's always an argument to be made. I still think I'm going to play him, Scott. I still think I want to be in the camp of getting that $3,800 guy in my lineup rather than being with the 40% of people who probably will not have him in their lineup tonight. So I like him. As far as high-end guys, you mentioned a lot of the higher-end names, obviously the Jokic's, Embiid's of the world. I really like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander here tonight for Oklahoma City. No Josh Giddey. He also will miss tonight's game for Oklahoma City. He's basically, you know, the Robin to SGA's Batman, and he's not going to be in that lineup. So SGA's props, I mean, we're talking a scoring prop of 26.5 out there. I like smashing the over on some of his props tonight, but really like him in DFS here tonight. We mentioned some of the value at Minnesota. Guys like Noel, who look good, played a bunch of minutes. Beasley, I think, has got to become one of the primary scorers there. So I like those guys as well. And then Jonas Valanciunas, kind of a mid-range center option if you don't want to pay up for the Jokic's or Embiid's of the world. So that's the quick look at the NBA tonight. We will come back at the end of the show with some best bets. I'm sure we'll have some NBA. I'm sure we'll hit some of those college football games that we talked about. But we want to talk some NFL here. We know a lot of you guys in your season-long finals this week, so congratulations to anybody that has made it this far. I mean, it's been quite the journey, Scott, exactly. I mean, we're talking injuries, COVID. I mean, it's just been a nightmare. So if you have survived, I mean, take pride in even being one of the last two standing in your league. So let's look at some of the NFL injuries of note. We'll talk some pickups, things like that. As far as injuries, Scott, what's standing out on that front for you this week?
I mean, I just end up seeing Carson Wentz landed on the COVID list, so I know that's one that's going to be interesting. But you know, really, you look at Miles Sanders broke his hand. I think that one's going to hurt a little bit. And then James Robinson absolutely killed me in my DFS teams this Sunday, Chris. I was watching them. I mean, literally, we were joking. How can anybody watch that game? I got the 3 TVs. I'm sitting there. I flipped it on because I saw they had the ball, and I thought, let me see what old J-Rob's going to do here against these crappy Jets. And literally, that's when he fell right to the ground. I thought, well, maybe his cleat broke or something. I didn't know. It looked odd. He wasn't even touched. And when I realized what was going on there. I just, that's what I get for turning on such a crappy game. But yeah, that one really hurt. But there's so many. This year has been so different, Chris. Generally, there's only one or two guys like at the beginning of a playoff run that you could even possibly think to pick up that may help you throughout these playoffs. I mean, this year, there's been 5 to 10 every week. Somebody that you could grab on the waiver wire. I mean, like this past week, Rashad Penny had a really good week. That's a guy that is helping you now in these fantasy playoffs. So as we stress, man, this is the year. If you are one of these busy guys on the waiver wire, this is the year you probably have outperformed most, because if you sat stagnant, chances are you let a lot of opportunities pass right by you.
Yeah, you got to be active, got to be fluid, got to be rotating through those guys, churning that bench. Running backs especially, we know are going to be a valuable commodity. So Philadelphia is a good place to start. Miles Sanders, like you mentioned, so it's going to be the Boston Scott, Jordan Howard show there for them. Quarterback position, Jimmy Garoppolo, we'll have to keep an eye on him. We may finally get some Trey Lance this week, and reports have been glowing on Trey Lance here. Last time we saw him start a game, I believe he had 89 rushing yards there. So if Garoppolo's out, I don't hate adding Trey Lance as an upside play if you're hurting at quarterback, if you do have a Carson Wentz situation that you're dealing with. Rams, Darrell Henderson, another injury. Surprisingly, Cam Akers activated just right in time. It's weird how that worked. Henderson out, Cam Akers in. I think Sony Michel remains a great play. We talked a lot of Sony Michel on our Sunday show, so hopefully you guys caught that with our special guest, Freddie the Pizza Man. Had a great time. We'll be doing that again every Sunday morning talking the NFL. But Sony Michel was a hot topic that morning. So those are the major injuries, Scott. And let's talk pickups here for people that are still alive in their fantasy league. So quarterback, I mentioned Trey Lance, certainly a name that you can look to. Davis Mills, another guy that's playing very well right now for this Houston Texans team. Freddie called that win outright. So Davis Mills, a guy that you can certainly lean on. Quarterback a little bit thin this week. I would probably stay away from the Indianapolis guys if Wentz is out. We'll see who they go to. But Rex Burkhead coming off a big week for Houston, kind of the last man standing in that backfield. Keyshawn Vaughn looked real good for Tampa Bay. We know Leonard Fournette will likely miss another week here. So he looks like the better back between him and Ronald Jones. Derek Gore, CEH, another injury we didn't talk about. Sounds like he may miss multiple weeks. So Darrell Williams, an obvious add, but Derek Gore we've seen be very productive when he's been given some shots. We talked about Scott and Jordan Howard there. Isaiah McKenzie with a lot of injuries in that Buffalo pass-catching core, along with Byron Pringle there in Kansas City has looked solid. And then Alan Lazard of the Green Bay Packers, another guy that we can look at. So, Scott, any guys to add to the list here as far as waiver wires go?
I think that pretty much well covered it. I can't really think of anybody else. Maybe like a, tight end, Morneau, or somebody from the Raiders might be available if you need some tight end help. We didn't really mention any tight ends. But other than that, I think we pretty much well covered it. I mean, I did see that Rex Burkhead, Chris, was on pretty much all the winning lineups this past weekend in DFS. So he was a pretty good pivot off some of those other chalky, cheap running backs that we end up seeing. I think you're right with Ronald Jones. I think Keyshawn Vaughn is a better back. I think they may ended up going to him a little bit more. I mean, it seems like Jones has had so many opportunities in the past and really hasn't. He just seems like he's a guy that's just been lingering. They obviously went out and got Fournette because they weren't happy with him. So I think if Vaughn keeps running the ball well, they'll just keep giving it to him. But, that one. And then Derek Gore was another one that he kind of came out of nowhere here that, recently. We could actually mention Craig Reynolds, too, for the Lions as another running back that's kind of came here through in the last month or so. But, I was interested to see how well Gore ran when CEH went out last week. So, he's another guy. I think he may jump Williams over there for that starting backfield spot.
Yeah, one more running back to add, Dare Ngumawale of Jacksonville. You mentioned James Robinson. He was the guy that stepped in, a Wisconsin boy, more of a pass-catching type back, but certainly a guy that can get it done on the early downs as well. So if he's the starter there, I don't hate him. We know they love to utilize their running game. They're not really going to rely on Trevor Lawrence, which is probably a good idea these days. Other receivers we didn't talk about. Josh Palmer with the Chargers continues to play well. KJ Osborne, if Thielen's going to continue to miss time, we've seen him be very productive. We mentioned Lazard. If Valdez Scantling is out there, we know he brings big playability to the table as well. Even a guy like T.Y. Hilton can provide some value. He's pretty much done, but we'll see who the quarterback is. So play it by ear on that one. As far as tight end goes, not much out there. You mentioned a couple names, Cole Kmet's, the Tyler Conklins, the Gerald Everett's. Just depends on your waiver wire. C.J. Uzama, whoever's out there. And defensive streamers, Chicago in a good spot this week against the Giants. Cleveland, another team that you can look for. At Pittsburgh, that offense has been terrible. And I don't hate Seattle here this week against the Lions either. So those are the defensive streamers if you need some help there. So, Scott, it's Tuesday. It means we always got to look at the opening lines here in the NFL, see if we see any discrepancies, things we want to jump on here early. So I'll turn this over to you. Any spreads, any totals, anything look off here that you want to take advantage of here early in the week?
Yeah, I was just kind of looking through. I mean, it's been so difficult at this point. Normally on Tuesdays, or a lot of the time, Tuesday, Wednesdays, a lot of times where I like to get online and actually make some of my bets, but it's been just so tough with all this COVID news and all these changes that are going on. I'd hate to be locked into a bet and then find out, one of the main players on the team I need is out. But I think one that kind of I was looking at was the Chiefs. So the Chiefs are only giving the Bengals 4 points here. I mean, we saw what the Bengals did to the Ravens, but the Ravens have been giving up all kinds of passing yards here recently, and now they're going to get the Chiefs, who have just been playing some just killer defense here recently. I think the Bengals are going to be in for a little bit of trouble here, and I like the Chiefs here going into Cincinnati. They're only giving them 4 points at this time. I think that one should be a little bit higher. I think Kansas City is just rolling, and I don't think Cincinnati has an answer for them either. But excuse me, another one too that I was looking at here is this Giants and Bears game. The Giants and Bears are playing each other. I think both teams are absolutely terrible, but I mean, for me, the Bears at home, you're looking at -5.5. That quarterback situation over there, Jake Fromm with the Giants, is it's just not good. I'm going to keep looking for those situations, Chris, that I can attack. I mean, the Bears throwing in Nick Foles, I think they're actually better with Foles and Dalton than they are Justin Fields. So I don't mind that at all. I don't think the Bears are getting any kind of love there. I think they absolutely just run all over the Giants in that spot. So that's one that I was looking at. And then another one too that I thought was a little bit off was this Eagles playing going to Washington. I don't know how they expect Washington just to keep winning. I think Philadelphia is in a much better spot here. I think Philadelphia is the better team. I think they end up beating Washington, even though they are in Washington. And then I think the Patriots, too, are going to absolutely smash the Jaguars. I know it's at like 15 at this point. I think this one could go, it could go up to 17 or 18, Chris. I think I'm still interested. I think the Patriots are just going to run all over the Jaguars here. I don't think they stand a chance. So give me the Patriots minus that 15 too.
Yeah, don't hate that. So again, you nailed it in the beginning. Normally we like to make these bets, but right now it's very difficult to. I mean, you certainly can. It's a risk reward type proposition. So we're going to highlight the ones that we think are a little bit off or things we like, and it's up to the individual. How much risk do you want to take on? I'm still going to fire on some of these, and sometimes it may blow up in your face, but just do it lighter than you normally would, I guess is the way to say it. So a few that stood out to me, I was in lockstep with a few that you had mentioned, but there's a couple I really like here. I like Dallas this week at home against Arizona. I keep saying Arizona, that hangover is not going to go away. That loss in Detroit, yes, they clinched a playoff spot yesterday, but that may be even worse for them. Now they're not playing motivated to try to make the playoffs. You got to win, and Dallas at home has just been a different animal. So that one's sitting about -5 right now. I can just see Dallas rolling again in that game. So I like that one all the way up to Dallas -7. And call me crazy, Scott. I'm going to continue to go back to the Lions. They continue to cover. They continue to stay competitive. I don't see any reason the Seattle Seahawks should be 7-point favorites over anybody at this point. We saw them struggle with the Chicago Bears. I don't think the Lions are much worse. They may even be even with the Bears. I know the Bears got the W here on Thanksgiving, but the way the Lions are playing right now, they should not be 7-point underdogs in this game. I know you got to travel to Seattle here, but I like the Lions to cover that one. So those were two that kind of stood out to me as ones I think are a little bit off here for this week. So anything else here on the spreads, on the total, thoughts on the NFL as we close in on fantasy championship week here in our season-long leagues?
Yeah, good luck to all those out there in your fantasy championship. It's always fun to be able to have that year-long pass to talk shit to your friends about you winning your league. That's always the fun part. But yeah, Chris, I mean, we talk about these Lions here. We look at it and we think to ourselves, they've been really bad, but I mean, they're one of the best teams against the spread, covering the spread this year. We keep finding ourselves going back to them. And you might think, from an outsider point of view, from a betting standpoint, if you didn't really understand the betting world, you'd think, man, these guys are crazy. This team stinks, and they just keep on picking them and picking them. But, hey, against the spread, they're, I want to say top 2 or 3 in the NFL. So, obviously we're going to keep going back to them till they burn you. I mean, it's just like anything else. I'm going to keep going to that well. But, Chris, I think maybe tomorrow what we ought to do is look at, now that we're a couple weeks away here, maybe we ought to look at who we think might win the Super Bowl. What are some good best bets here looking forward that maybe we can pull us out? I think it's so wide open this year in the playoffs. I think this is a really good year that we might be able to focus and hone in on one of those lower seeds that might squeak through and get us to the Super Bowl. So maybe tomorrow we'll go through some of that. I know we're getting a little slow on some of the sports, especially with some of the COVID. So maybe tomorrow we'll get us all on track and see if we can pick us a team to adopt here for the playoffs that we can root for.
I like it for sure. It's also time to start looking at what teams have motivation, what teams don't, who's in the playoff race, who is playing for the number 1 seed in their conference, who's playing for a home playoff game. I mean, this is all stuff you want to factor in, and this is stuff in DFS that really becomes important, especially next week. There's going to be teams that have nothing to play for, and you're going to see a lot of backups. So just starting to get out ahead of some of that, looking at some of the scenarios and seeing which teams have more motivation than others. Very, very important this time of the year. So we'll continue to look at that kind of stuff here all throughout the week. Like you said, start looking at Super Bowl teams, finding some longer shots in the betting market, things that look off. I think that's a great idea. So we will definitely work that in. But time of the show, best bets time. Again, we've talked NBA, we've talked college football. So whichever way you want to go here, Scott, which bets are leading the way for you? Give the people some winners here. Best bets for Tuesday night. What do we got?
Well, I'm going to go with the rowing the boat. I'm going to row the boat here, Chris, and I'm going to go with PJ Fleck and the Gophers here minus the 5. I think that is a pretty good play. Actually, as we mentioned too, they're on the other side there. Their best running back is sitting out, hoping to be the number 1 pick in the draft. Now, I'm just kidding. He's not that good. But anyway, on top of that too, in the NBA, Chris, I have one, and I am going to go with the Lakers minus 5.5 in Houston there. I don't think Houston has enough defensively for LeBron James and the crew. So I think they easily beat Houston today. So I am going to roll with the Lakers and the Gophers.
Stole my picks. We're on the same page here. So I'm going to have to adapt on the fly. I found a few of them that I liked. I agree on both of those. I like Minnesota in college football. I really like the Lakers here tonight, but Houston looked terrible last night in that game against Charlotte. So a back-to-back situation for them is never ideal. So I'm going to start with the Miami Heat tonight. Minus 6.5 here at home against Washington. I know they're missing a few key pieces there with Bam, who's been out a while, Kyle Lowry, but they do have Jimmy Butler here. Washington been a little bit of a stumble here recently, and Bradley Beal may not play in this game. So Miami minus 6.5. I will start with them. I'm going to go over 212.5 in this Cleveland New Orleans game. Cleveland's defense has been really good. It's the only worry here, but I do think we'll get enough scoring to go over that total. I've seen a lot of money coming in on that. Bets about split on it, but the money really riding with the over there, and I'm in agreement on that one. So over 212. There's some 212s out there, so we'll go over 212. Cleveland in New Orleans. And then I'm rolling with Golden State at home tonight. 7.5-point favorites here against Denver. Denver really been an up and down team. I just don't know how they're going to compete with this team. Their best player, Nikola Jokic, does not fit well in this game against Golden State. Sure, he'll have an advantage against an undersized Golden State team, but I think Draymond can be pesky enough to cause him to not be as good as we normally see. I just see Golden State winning this game pretty handily, so give me the Warriors here at home minus the 7.5. And that will wrap it up here for Tuesday night on the Woodward Bet Show. Again, social stuff. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at Woodward Bets. Make sure if you're on YouTube watching, hit that thumbs up button. That helps us out over there. Also, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you're following the network as well at Woodward Sports. Tons of great shows each and every day. Hope you guys are enjoying that. And if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast app, leave a review. Tell us you enjoy the show. We won you some money, whatever it may be. That helps us out as well. But thank you to each and every one of you for listening. Scott, final thoughts for the people Tuesday night. What do you got, buddy?
Man, we're just getting into the hot and heavy time here. I'm getting ready for that big game here Friday for Michigan. I'm going to have to take a hiatus from drinking Modelo's for like 3 or 4 days, Chris, because, I mean, this holiday here has been killing me, as many beers as I've been having. But, yeah, looking forward to the week here. We're going to get hot and heavy, as we mentioned, this bowl season, fun time of the year, NFL playoffs, and then right around the corner, Super Bowl, and then we get into March Madness. So fun time of the sports time getting in here. So looking forward to getting into that. But let's keep our best bets rolling good here so we can keep this money flowing around here like we always been getting. So let's get them going. I think we were 5-1 the other day. I was 2 for 3 yesterday. So let's keep these bets going. And you know what, Chris, too? You guys are in your fantasy playoffs and the championship. Go on over to our Woodward Bets page and give yourself a shout out. We'll retweet it. We'll do whatever we got to do. Put your team name in there. Put your league name. Put in there that you're in the finals. Wish your teammates or your other league mates luck, and we'll be sure to retweet that. But we're here to wish everybody luck and get some money here in our season-long leagues and in our bets tonight. So let's get her done.
Absolutely. Well said. So, yeah, if you guys want to sound off about your league, hit us up on Twitter again at Woodward Bets. If you want any bets, whatever it may be, let's talk over there on the Twitter machine. So we appreciate you guys again for listening to the show. Tomorrow we'll be back with our initial look at the NFL Week 17 slate. So we'll get our initial thoughts down on the games, continue to look at some of the injuries, the spreads, the totals, some futures bets as well. So make sure you're tuning in to catch some of those. Mostly NFL tomorrow. There's a big NBA slate as well, so we'll give you our thoughts there. And, of course, best bets to end the show. So looking forward to that. So that will do it for today. For Scott, for our boy Sawyer behind the glass helping us out today. We appreciate you, buddy. I am Beer. We are Woodward Bets. Thank you again for listening. Best of luck with all of your fantasy and bets tonight, and we'll catch you right back here tomorrow. See ya.